Brian, and I attend Hope Jersey City. I will be sharing my story about coming to faith. I ran around the neighborhood of Winston-Salem, North Carolina, until I was 7 years old, and then my dad got a job promotion and moved us up to Portland, Maine. You know, part of me thought that a new place would bring some new beginnings, and maybe my dad wouldn't treat me the way that he had. I hoped church would be different, you know, because all I knew was kind of you dress up, you go to church on Sunday, act a certain way, sit in the hardwood pews, you know, sing hymnals out of a book that smelled like moths. You know, so it was kind of in a church that I wasn't excited about being a part of and doing all that. So down in the central part of North Carolina, where I was a little kid growing up, where I was born, my earliest memories are of a lot of fear and confusion. You know, and all of that stems from being sexually abused by my dad. He used alcoholism, or was an alcoholic, as a way to deal with his anger that lived deep within inside of him. And I'm pretty sure that he was abused as a child, and you know, just kind of perpetuated those behaviors as an adult. You know, along with the sexual abuse, he was also physically and spiritually, mentally and emotionally abusive. He was a really hard man to know and understand, and he was riddled with so many of his own demons. You know, but his inability to face those demons and come to terms with his own past, I think, was really what led him to, you know, replicate the behaviors that he saw as a child. You know, when I was getting older, between the ages of 7 and 12, you know, I was getting a little bolder, a little sassier. So the sexual abuse pretty much stayed the same, but the physical abuse got worse because I was a little bit of a rebellious kid. So my anger as I got older just grew over the years, and my childhood was chaotic at best. I had a complicated relationship with church and God. I developed a pretty intense anger towards God because my father would just often invoke the Bible and God as justification for his own behavior. He would often say God has forgiven him, so I needed to as well. With that as my example, I thought Christianity was just utter hypocrisy. I knew I didn't want that to be my life. And I was so terrified that I would end up like him that I found myself in therapy. I was aware enough to know that I needed to talk to someone, and that my experience wasn't normal. I didn't know the language around my feelings, and I didn't know how to express them. They were just buried deep inside of me. I also knew that my life was littered with all kinds of trauma, and my response was just not very healthy. After seeing a couple therapists, I finally landed on a therapist that I would see for about 4 years. Karen was a game changer. She really started to help me realize how to put God into my life. She wasn't necessarily a Christian therapist per se, but she was a believer, and she would give me scriptures, and she would really encourage me to have a biblical response and really dive into some faith and put Jesus into our therapy a little bit. Slowly, these words of encouragement really started to give me some perspective around my faith, and I could see God just moving in my heart and in my life. I know in my heart God never left me, and he never gave up on me. I was mad at God for a long time, many years, because I didn't understand why. I didn't know why he let these things happen to me. Forgiveness has been a really long journey for me. A journey I'm still on. I've struggled to know what it means to forgive others and even forgive myself. But God eventually picked me up, hugged me, and made me feel like a person again. I was filled with shame and I felt dirty. But God, He saw me and He loved me. As I was committing my life to Him, He began to open doors. God was rebuilding me. And then He led me to Malika. She was a true light in my life. As things were kind of coming together with her and my life was starting to shape up a little bit, I got a call from my uncle. And the subtext was basically that you need to come see your dad, and he's not doing well, and kind of made it seem like I needed to maybe come say goodbye. This wonderful lady Malika that I was seeing was really encouraging me to go see him. She knew a little bit of the story, and she really encouraged me to go see him, so I did. And it was hard. It was really, really hard. He was bedridden. He looked pretty rough. We didn't really talk about a whole lot that day. It was pretty quiet, mostly. We sat a lot. TV was on in the background. But God was there with us. And it was late in the evening. It's about time to kind of wrap it up. And my father asked me to come over to him and stand next to him. So I put his hand out, and I put my hand in his. And he squeezed my hand. I looked at him, and he looked at me, and he said, "Brian, I'm sorry." I don't really remember what I said after that. But I know that I let go of a lot of stuff in that moment. There's 3 simple words that I'd wanted to hear my whole life. He said it. God was there. And God gave us both this path to closure. Over the next year or so, my dad and I, we weren't in contact that much. Maybe a text here or there. But the following Christmas, he died. And after he became septic, the doctors were unable to save him. It hit me pretty hard. And to this day, it makes me sad to think about him alone when he passed. I love when I look back and I can see how God has really moved in my life, and He's put people and situations in my path to really bring me back to Him. I know He gave me a foundation as a child. I know He gave me those moments, even though I was kind of angry about it as a kid. He laid a foundation that stayed with me as I got older, and that's what helped me to accept Him as I got to be an adult. Even though my experience as a child is not what God intended, He knew I was listening, and I could hear Him. So many times in my journey, God has shown up and steered me in the right direction. Even when I wasn't pursuing Him, He was pursuing me. It's not that I don't have problems anymore, or that I don't have triggers of things that happen in my life. It's that I have someone that stands with me and provides comfort. Someone that makes me feel seen and loved.